Hey there, and welcome to the channel where you will find love, laughs, and DIYs. If you're new here, let me introduce myself. I am Crafty Kathy, and I am tickled pink that you're here with me today. Once you watch any of my videos, I consider you my family, and I would hope that you would subscribe and stick around so that you don't miss a single episode. Today I wanted to share with you how I upcycled some of my old home decor and thrift store finds, and I turned it into some French cottage decor. And I threw a little shabby in there, so I called it Shabby French Cottage. I hope this will give you some inspiration with your old home decor and thrift store finds. So let's just kick back and not worry about anything and just spend a little bit of time together. Sometimes to upcycle your old decor, it doesn't take much. It might just need a spray painting, which was the case with this old rusty, crusty birdcage. It's a mint color, which doesn't go with anything of mine. So I gave it 3 coats of the satin beige by Rust-Oleum 2 times. It came out looking great, but I wanted one that had the bird on the top, and I had a bird that I got from Dollar General for $1, and I painted it white, and I just used some E6000 and glued that baby right to the top of my bird cage. So next I take this 3x5 frame, and I already like it the way it is. I just want to tone down the color a little. So I'm taking my Debbie's DIY white wax and a chippy brush, and I'm going to go over the whole frame with a pretty good thick coat. Then once I have it covered in the white wax, all I'm going to do is just take a microfiber rag, and I'm just going to go and lightly buff off some of that white wax. This definitely did the trick to tone it down just a little bit and make it a little bit more shabby. I took a piece out of one of my journals that's called God's Whisper. If your life is too noisy, you're drowning out God's voice. And I really like that reminder. I like the look of ripped pages, so I went all the way around that and ripped it, and then I just put it right back in its frame. I styled my bird cage by taking an old vintage key and tying it to some shabby ribbon on the side, and then I also added a couple of flowers, some ivy, and I put my beautiful little quote and picture frame on the top of some old books, and I absolutely love it. You know, sometimes I think I overthink my DIYs. I'm going to keep this one. It has special meaning. If you'll look on that vintage key, it says heart. And then I purposely locked that cage. And this is kind of like a little reminder for me that we allow so much noise to get our attention in our daily lives that we don't hear God's whisper. But if you'll just take the key to your heart and unlock it, it's like you're opening your cage and setting yourself free. I know that's kind of out there, but sometimes I do that, and I have little analogies for my DIYs. Is that weird? I don't know, but let's move on. The next one is this pretty little basket that I got from the thrift store. Well, it's a basket, but it's also like a little container, like a little box almost. It's got a lock on it, and I think it's really, really pretty. And it also had handles on it, which I had already taken off. They were basically kind of like thick jute cord, or jute rope, I'm sorry. And so what I'm going to do is give it a couple of coats of my Rust-Oleum white spray paint, and I always use the 2 times Rust-Oleum. But if I'm going to be spray painting a basket, I always go over it with a top coat first, because these baskets tend to soak up that spray paint. But if you put a top coat on it, it's like it gives it a barrier, and it gives something for that spray paint to stick to. So anything that has trouble with spray paint sticking to it, you just put this top coat on it and you're set to go. I'm going to use the Prima Redesign Transfer, and these are called Vintage Dream, or this certain one is called Vintage Dream. I absolutely love the flowers in this one. And you know, you can cut them apart. You don't have to use the whole picture the way it is. And I thought at first, you know, it's just going to go right through these holes. It's not going to be seen. And I don't know if I've ever even noticed anybody put transfers on a basket like this. But I was in a little bit of a daring mood, so I thought, well, let's try it. The worst thing that can happen is I lose my transfer. So I went over it, and all you do is lay it down and just use your little scraping tool. And I just really took my time with it. This is in super fast motion, just so I don't bore you guys. But I really just took my time, was slow about it. And a lot of times when you get your transfer stuck on there, you can start to pick it up and it just like automatically lays down. It's almost like a sticker, but you just have to make sure that it sticks really good. So I put the big flower on the left side, and then on the right side, I put the two smaller flowers and going up the top. And once you find the placement where your transfer is going to go, it's not a good idea to try to pick it back up and move it, because parts of it probably will stick and you are totally going to mess up your transfer. But I got this one flower down on the bottom, and then I put the other one kind of toward the top. Once you get your transfer totally on the object, you use the backing of that same sheet and just burnish it. And that just means rub it around, basically, so it'll stick down really good. And this is what I came up with, and I just used some jute cord for the handles. I hope you like this one. I'm really glad now that I took the chance on trying this. I wanted to jump in for a minute and ask you guys to subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you as part of my family here on YouTube. All you got to do is hit that little red button and you're in. And give me a big thumbs up, because it really helps support my channel out here on YouTube. And today I'm doing a collab with my friend, Crafting with Maria. Maria is a feisty little Latina, and she is cute as a button, and you guys are going to fall in love with her. I would say that her style is mostly farmhouse, but she does a little bit of everything, and her DIYs are amazing. So when you're finished with this video, please go give Maria a chance and check her out. I'm going to leave all of her information in the description box below, and don't forget to let her know that Crafty Kathy sent you. Now let's go on to our third DIY. I'm going to start out with this big size tin can that like a big size that green beans come in. You just take everything off of it, and I spray painted it smoky beige by, you guessed it, Rust-Oleum 2 times. And I'm just putting 2 pieces of wax on the side so it doesn't move. We're going to do a little decoupaging, which is one of my favorite things. You just get a little bit of your Mod Podge on your fingers together, and then you go, like I did there, like pinch the napkin, and it will cause that back side to come off. Now, but most napkins have 2 backings on them, but make sure it's all off of there or it will mess up your decoupage. And I'm just going to rip the part of the napkin off that I want, because I do not like straight edges on anything that I'm doing with decoupage. It doesn't look as good as it does when you have ripped edges. So you just rip off the piece that you want. And if you're afraid of it ripping, do like I just did. I squirted the end of my paintbrush and you dab it where you want it to be ripped, and it creates just a little bit of wetness, and it's so much easier to rip. Now I sped this up for the sake of time, but you just go real slow. You put your Mod Podge down in sections and just very gently lay it down. You don't want to touch it with your hands after it's laid down. I mean, if you need to move stuff around just a little bit, you can, but be very careful, because the napkins are so thin, they're going to, mess up on you if you're not careful. Now, your best friend is your saran wrap. I always say that. So I put it down, and you see I put my saran wrap over the front of this. I got enough to cover the whole scene there, and I just kind of used my fingers to kind of push the image down into the object and to pull. And when I pulled, that napkin went right into all those little ridges, and it turned out without a single wrinkle. And if you need to touch it, use your saran wrap to do so and set it aside and let it dry. Now I'm going to do a couple of projects together because it creates a vignette. And here I'm going to do a candle. I actually do two, but I'm just going to show you one for the sake of time. I've got my wet paintbrush and I'm going down through the side of this, and I just kind of flipped it off and see the whole, it's all like jagged, not jagged, I don't know the word, but I didn't, it's not a straight edge. It's ripped. Okay, I'm using antique Mod Podge, but there was really no difference in this Mod Podge than others, and Plaid sent it to me for free. Thank you, Plaid. So I'm going to try it out. It's just kind of a more antique-y color, I guess you could say, but I didn't notice anything else different. So here I'm putting my Mod Podge down in sections. I want my bird's face, or the front of the bird, to be the very center of that candle. So I lay it down, and I just kind of, once I lay it down, I just kind of let it fall as it may. And I start off in the middle, and I go down and up to try to get that image to fall down naturally, and that's where it's going to stick. I hope that kind of makes sense. And then, of course, I grab my handy-dandy saran wrap, and I lay it on the top of it, and then I use my fingers to put this exactly the way that I want it. And I'm so sorry that my doggone hair bow keeps getting in the way, but I'm using this new arm that goes over my head, and I thought it was totally over my head. But you're getting a good view of my Minnie Mouse hair bow. It's not really. It just looks like something she would wear. And so anyways, you just make sure that you use your fingers on top of that saran wrap. And hey, even if you do get a wrinkle, you can almost like iron it out with your fingers. The heat from your fingers on top of that saran wrap, run it back and forth like you're ironing that wrinkle out. And I promise you, for the most part, the wrinkle will come out. But guys, if you take your time and you do your saran wrap and you just slow down and get you some practice, hey, you will get this. It's not difficult. It's not a difficult concept, but it takes a lot of patience and practice, and that's something that most of us lack, especially me. It took me forever to understand that saran wrap is my best friend. And if you have edges that are sticking up that need to come off like this here, just use sandpaper or like this little wedge like I am, and you do it away from yourself and it comes off perfect. Okay, next I've got these two candlesticks. I got these at a thrift store, y'all, for $2 a piece because the lady didn't know how expensive these were. And I kept telling her, but she wouldn't listen. They are 52 bucks a piece, and they still have the things on the bottom. These are the heaviest, chunkiest, most beautiful candlesticks, and I've had them for a while, which is why I couldn't bring myself to paint them. But today I did. I used my white Rust-Oleum, and I gave it 2 coats, and then I did the clear coat. And then I'm just using my sanding sponge and very, very lightly going over it because I was even afraid to sand them. Like, these are my favorite candlesticks. I will not sell these in my booth. They stay with me, absolutely. And you can even use your fingernail to make a little scratch if you want to in the paint. Don't do it in the candlestick, just lightly in the paint, and it makes a larger spot and it looks good. And the next thing in my vignette is this little ordeal that I made. It's a riser. Okay, if you guys can help not looking at my chickens because they are so gorgeous. But anyways, I made this riser. These are just 2 of those little rounds that you get from Walmart for 97 cents. And I took the farmhouse beads and put it in the middle of them. And of course, I painted it with my antique wax. And on the bottom is this candlestick, actually. And it's a reddy brown color that I do not like. Look at my babies. It's so hard not to love them. See, I had to draw a little heart. I know I'm weird, right? So I painted that white, and this is everything together, and I hope you like it. I think it's glorious. I wanted to mention that these are battery powered candles that I put that napkin on. I'd be afraid to put it on a real one almost because, I mean, who's wanting to burn their house down, right? And as I was going through my stuff, hey, I come across this box that's Rose Forever. They sent me these roses about a year ago. And I just, out of curiosity, thought I'm going to look and see if they're the same because they say that the roses will never fade or lose their smell. And when I opened the box, I was like, wow, because the color is just breathtaking and they smelled so good. And I just wanted to show you guys because, I mean, it was just strange. I was just going through my stuff and I was like, ooh, I wonder what these are going to look like now. And I just wanted to show these off to you. I think they're so beautiful. But anyways, I contacted the company and let them know thank you again for sending me those flowers and how beautiful that they still are. And they said that they're going to send you guys a pretty big coupon. So I'm going to leave that in the description box below. If any of y'all want some of these flowers, just go down in the description box and get them. I can say it's been a year and they still look great. And I love the box that they come in. It's very Frenchy vibe and right up my alley. So anyways, let's get back into the DIYs. I have one more to show you. Now this one is going to be some vintage French books. Now these aren't the cutesy little books that all of us DIYers have made a million times over that have the words. These look like old vintage books where the spines are coming undone, and I just think they're beautiful and they have a French shabby vibe to them. So here I'm just making a gray color. I'm using white and black to get my gray, and then I'm going to add the light blue Glacier from Home Decor to get a blue color. Now that's going to be the main color of our books, but we're going to have several different colors mixed in and mingled in with that. So I'm going to take my books and I want the spine completely covered in the light blue color. But the rest of it you do just almost like a very thick distressing. Now if you have any other color besides a blue, dark blue or light blue, you need to cover it up totally. So you see what I'm doing here, it's just a very thick distressing motion. And then I'm going to go over the pages also. If you have any other color besides blue and white, you want to cover it up completely, just like this red here. You want to make sure you've got it completely covered, and you're going to go down the spine of the book too, or I'm sorry, the pages of the book. Now on the spines, we are going to make it look old and vintage. And I use DOS brand clay, D-A-S. It's in my Amazon store if you want some. And all you're going to do is warm it up in your hands. And then you're going to go over it and you're going to cover the whole spine up with this. And you don't want it to be even. You want it to be kind of... it's easier for you just to watch what I'm doing than me to explain because it may not make sense unless you see what I'm doing here. You can use a little spatula if you need to kind of smooth it over, but you want it to be bumpy and rough looking because when you're finished, it's going to look like old ripped spine from a book. And if you need to use just a little bit of water so you can smooth your clay, that's perfectly fine. You just do what you need to do. And I must say, I think it looks better when I covered the whole spine up because on one of the books, I didn't totally cover it up. And the one where it's covered all the way does look better. This is the one that I completely covered, and I have it sped up for the sake of time, but you're going to leave it alone. I usually do overnight so that it can totally dry. Then you're going to take a darker shade of blue, which I picked Nantucket blue, and I just put a dash of blue in it, which it really didn't make that much of a difference. And you're just going to kind of do a distressing motion all over that area that you had distressed with the lighter color. And then you're just going to put dabs of it on the spine, especially in the areas where there is no clay. You want that darker color. I actually think that the one that had the whole spine covered with the clay turned out so much better. So that's just my main suggestion, is to go ahead and cover that whole spine with the clay. You don't want it level. You want it kind of, so it'll look like a shabby old book. So you just go over everything with that dark blue color, and you're just lightly distressing kind of here and there all over that book. Then when all that's dry, you're going to take your lighter color of blue again and just lightly go over everything. Now you pretty much want that whole spine to be covered in the blue, the light blue mostly. And it's okay to have a couple of peaks of that white coming through. That's fine. I saw this off of Flea Market Rescue, and I just thought it was beautiful, and I've been doing it in my booth, and these have been selling like hotcakes. They sell more than the books that have the little words on the side. After I got all of my blue on and I was totally satisfied with it, I took a little bit of the antiquing wax and I just went over it very lightly. I even rubbed it in the spine with my finger in just small areas. I wanted to show you right here on the pages, look how pretty that is when you take the light blue with the dark blue and then go back over it with the light blue. It just looks like an old vintage book where the spines are just falling apart. And the lady from Flea Market Rescue did a much better job than me. But these do sell very well in the booth. And so what I did right here was show my head forever. Sorry. And I'm just basically going to take a thick piece of jute twine, wrap these books together, and then I had made some beautiful little tags for my booth, because that way I like to put tags on all of my things that I sell at my booth, because it's just an extra sweet little gift for the person to tell them thank you for purchasing from me. And this is how it turned out. If you made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I appreciate every single one of y'all. Don't forget to go see Miss Maria, and don't forget to subscribe and like.
Hey there, everybody. It's Kathy's cousin from Tennessee, Bobby Joe Womble. And I can sing and dance and do anything that Hollywood wants me to do. And guess what? Hollywood called me back and wants to put me on that story called Real Stories. You know, the one that wanted me to act like I was inbred. I don't even understand why they would want me for that part. But anyways, I told them I wasn't going to lie that I'm not inbred, but they told me to sign a bunch of paperwork, which I don't understand what it means, so I signed it because I'm going to Hollywood. But anyways, I've been putting my affairs in order lately. I've been working on my riverfront property. By the way, how do y'all like the specs? I think they make me look a little sophisticated and ready for Hollywood. Mama got them for me at the Dollar General on account of she said I can't see nothing because I married Buford. I don't even know what that means. That woman's crazy. But anyways, I just wanted to stop in and let you know that my movie will be out real soon, and I was discovered right here on this channel because Kathy gave this channel to me, so it's mine. I might give it back to her when I go back to Hollywood because, you know, it's just so small fry stuff. But I love yous, and I'll see yous real soon. Bye.
Girls, why did you push open the door and come in here? Snooping around. You know I don't like you in here because you poop on command. Yeah, you poop in my floor and you don't even warn anybody. I know what you're after. The mealworms tasty trio. It's exactly what you're after, and you know they're in here. Alright, come on, let's go. Mama get you some. I just wonder which one of these girls pooped in front of the door. That burns me up. And of course they're not going to say. They love their mealworms though. They'll go crazy over them. I have the most tame chickens, I think, of anybody in the world. But they're my sweethearts, and I'm a crazy chicken lady. Can't help myself. That's why I buy them $30 bags of worms. Makes no sense, right? I love y'all.